3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Miracles Online. I'm Bear. This is my
Big Bear.
And we are here where connections meet miracles. And we're excited to talk to you today about two topics that if you're doing online dating, it's really critical that you are aware. So the two topics are, if you're a digital dater, again, you need to know this. How early is it or late to talk about mental health? This is 2025. It's a different, non-stigma, really, than it was back probably in 1998, correct?
So what about mental health that we're concerned with? Or I know that you probably don't want to date a crazy, right?
Yep. But mental health is not really just, someone, well, I just got out of a mental institution. You and I both know we have a very dear family member who struggles with some mental health issues. And I'm constantly telling her, you don't have to tell too much. So we're going to talk about mental health and we're going to get into the details of that, Jeff. And then secondly, we're going to talk about staying safe. Okay.
Sure.
Staying safe in the digital world. And I know many people have a question around staying safe, and we're going to give you some practical tools on how to do it. I encourage you not to just, disqualify online dating because you think it's scary and you've heard some scary stories. There's some simple rules, and if you follow them, you can have it all, basically. Yeah. So, let's get started.
Well, let's just start with this. Don't forget, go on to Yayu Publishing, YAYU Publishing.com, where you can get your download of the top sheet for the profile tips for online dating. Make sure you get that. If you have not already, get the book, Miracles Online. And that is, of course, your GPS to online dating.
It's a quick read. It's a handbook that you want to keep near, for the various elements of having successful online dating and finding your true love. And it starts with self, and it starts with an amazing profile, an authentic profile, which we've talked about and we will continue to talk about in other segments, because it's the prep work, if you will. It's the prep work. Like, if you ever heard about painting, what's the most important part? It's prepping it before you actually put the paint on. It's the prep work for success.
So let me kind of throw a story of mine to you. You tell me if this is part of mental health. Because, of course, when I was dating back then, meeting new people, I didn't question, your history or anything like that. But like one of the dates that I went on probably twice, and I realized this person she keeps on wanting to talk about herself. Not one time she asked me a question about me.
Okay, so that's narcissism, and we're going to have a whole segment on narcissism, but go ahead, Jeff.
But usually when you hear the word narcissist, you think of negative, aggressive.
No, it's all about me, is what it is. It's a selfishness. Yeah, and so that's a first kind of sign, road sign that says, oh, okay, she's self-absorbed. Because how do you find out about somebody? You be curious. You ask about them. But if you're self-absorbed, it's all about me. And part of that, in defense, because I don't know who this girl or woman is or was, but part of it can be nervousness. So, if you know these kind of telltale signs in the beginning, for yourself or for the other on the date, you can kind of look at it, and you can be gentle. They could be just a little bit nervous.
I can understand nervousness. Let's say we're on finally see face to face at a dinner or lunch or something like that. But when you're on the phone, on the phone, everything, like I said, there was never, hey, what about you, the entire time. And this probably went on for a week and a half, 2 weeks. When after that, I think we went to eat somewhere and it was the same. And I kind of thought to myself, well,
so you gave her a chance. You pushed past that kind of, notation of she was a little self-absorbed, and
Yeah.
you guys met in person,
Yeah.
and then it was the same thing.
Very much the same. Everything was just her yammering about her. Her. Well, I mean, that may seem to be rude, but I wasn't rude in person.
No, I just haven't heard that word.
I just sat there and just kind of, I don't know. I guess I was really surprised at this because I talked to a lot of people before her too, and then dated some before her. For whatever reason, they, either drop out and whatnot. So, you keep on looking for it. But this individual was the only one that I found unique, that she only stayed on the topic of her and about her history, her hobbies, or her agendas, her schedule, what she liked, what she didn't like. Sure. And it got to the point where you kind of just sit there and think, okay, well, now I know everything about you.
And you know nothing about me.
And after I know everything about you, I was kind of like, maybe not you.
Maybe not you. So she did you a favor. So I want to interject here. Thanks for sharing that story,
Yes.
Jeff. First time I've heard it, which is, part of how we keep our mental health healthy. The big bear and the bear and the big bear is by continually finding out more things about each other like this.
Yeah.
But mental health is a part of overall health. So bringing it up early can set the tone for honesty and emotional maturity. So to me, I look at it, that's self-awareness. Okay. You don't have to overshare, as we mentioned. Just mentioning therapy. I had this issue, and I've really found a lot of insight by, whatever it is, having a counselor, doing some hypnosis, or just having meditation and mindfulness. It shows that you prioritize growth. And early on with Jeff and I, you might have heard us talk about, we resonated with the same books, the same AM talk radio shows. It showed me early on, as well as Jeff, that we were both interested in self-improvement, in mental health, in growing as individuals. So that was a huge foundational commonality, I think, for both of us, that really, pushed us towards connectedness very early on. Now, there's red flags versus green flags. Okay. Someone who shames or avoids the topic may not be emotionally available. So what does that look like? That could be someone like, oh, you get therapy, which I don't think today that is a stigma like it was, decades ago, even a decade ago. You find actually, especially among Gen Z and millennials, that therapy can be kind of a badge of emotional responsibility, not weakness. And that's a good thing. That's a very good thing.
I think we start to understand that, number one, therapy is about working on yourself, working on your issues, get rid of the bad habits, the bad paradigms you may have since you were a child. So I think most of us now at this point recognize that to self improve is actually a good thing, to identify something and needing a therapist to help you with this is not shameful. Mm-mm. It is not something that shows that, this person is kind of cuckoo, so we shouldn't be around. That's the old ways of, I think stigmatism too.
Yeah. And thank God that has gone health by the wayside. I think now people are, I think so. Realizing that, well, this is someone who is open. They are open to improving themselves, which means they would be open to, if we're in a relationship down the road or even marriage and we need assistance, that we're going to get assistance. We're open to it. Because how many times have you heard the story? Well, we got a divorce. I wanted to get help and therapy, but my husband and or my wife they shut down and they didn't want to. And it takes two people to make a relationship work.
And also the first year of our marriage, and for those of you that, just now seeing us, we met online and married 6 weeks later. So that's 26 plus years ago. But the very first year, I remember us having to learn each other. And I think within the first 6 months, we decided to have a counselor therapy because we were having misunderstandings and conflicts, and this included
that was for our son.
That was all for all of us. It was our family.
Okay.
Right. We had a 16-year-old living with us.
So we had a blended family. Yes, we had a 16-year-old boy, my baby boy, who was, acting out after all these years. He was the head of the household. Son, this younger, male figure comes in and is the male figure and is like, no, you don't talk to my wife that way.
Yeah, we really had to clarify some of that because now all of a sudden his mother is my wife.
Right. So the dynamics I think are different. The one thing that I learned, and I think we went one time, that's kind of been my experience.
And I'll share that too.
Yeah, only because, I went to a therapist one time and the therapist started telling me her problems. And that's when you kind of know that you're probably not a good fit when I'm counseling her.
That's right.
I was happy to, but it was on my dime. But what I did learn, the concept, I try to, no matter what I'm involved in, to take one thing out of it.
Right.
And that was the explanation that, you were a nucleus of this. And now you're adding this. That's a completely different dynamic. You've got to work through that dynamic. And Jeff did famously, having never been a father, having been a single man, yes, but a only child. Although he had been around in the sports arena with youth, so he had that, sense, that innate sense of dealing with youth, etc. But he brought that loving discipline element to the equation that I will tell you, my son, I think of it as our son, because he co-raised him in very, very critical time, has come to us and thanked Jeff for his participation and for his influence. And, it was very difficult, but he ended up, just doing wonderfully, far beyond imagination.
Well, let me tell the audience that in regards to what happened actually in therapy, that really, I think, opened us up in the relationship. Number one is that we did to go in there with the intention of how do we handle the new male figure into this young man's life. And through that conversation, of course, the therapist said one thing, he has history with his mother. He has no history with you. So that's going to cause a lot of confusion and probably misunderstandings. And that's probably the best thing he said.
Yeah, I remember that as the other very, very poignant message. That and it really hit home with you, is that, he had 15 years plus history, plus the 9 months in the womb. And I also have to add that he had an absent biological father who was like in another country. So he was not in his life. But
the thing that came across at the end of the therapy is we all left that place thinking, okay, well, the guy knows some, but he really doesn't know anything about all of us. And we really dynamically bonded because of that decision, and that was very interesting. That's why I bring up to the point that even though we went to a person who didn't know our dynamics, there was enough information given within the three of us with the therapist that we came home with a conclusion of how we should, start to behave and move forward with each other. And one of the things that I remember distinctly in the therapy session was that I wasn't just going to take his mother's side just because she's my wife.
And he didn't. My son can attest to that. We're not going to give any specifics right now, but I was just reminded of one, and in my kind of short-sightedness, coming from an emotional standpoint, was, well, of course, aren't you going to side with me? And Jeff's like, not necessarily.
No, not if it's not right.
If it's not the best choice. So I think our son respected that. I know he must have. Because I know he respected and he
of course you. Then of course the little bear got mad at me for the next 15-20 minutes because of
15-20 minutes.
But she also recognized that was the right decision. she knows that for all of us to have a great family was to be able to be open.
Yep.
And not
and fair.
Yeah, not play sides.
Exactly.
Right.
So I just want to reiterate that, of course, someone who shames that it may not be emotionally available for you.
That's right.
So, keep your eye out for that flag. If someone makes trite of any kind of sign of, an interest in self-actualization, mental health, and making yourself a better person.
So if I ask you that, would you date somebody who's in therapy 3 times a week?
I would have to know more about that.
Yeah, I understand that. That's why I was concerned in regards to the therapy. If you run into somebody who's going, I got 2 therapists. I meet one on Monday and I meet the other one on Wednesday. And then on Friday, I have a joint session. You should not just immediately start to judge.
No, I wouldn't disregard that, because number one, they are 80% there if they're making a decision. When someone comes to me for hypnosis, they're 80% there already. They've made a decision to change their mind, to change their ways, to change their habits, to change their thinking. So they're open. They have to be open to make it change. So they're almost there. So, I certainly wouldn't judge that at all.
Yeah.
Again, oversharing, that's another thing. So let's say, how would you deal? We have a family member who deals with some emotional issues, is on medication, has for a very long time. And I've told her, you want to get to know someone a little bit before you divulge. You don't have to tell them everything.
That's right.
And why is that?
Well, some people, live with the label system. I am this, I am that. That is habitually that's their identifier, if you will.
Yes. And that's what I've tried to say to her. And then I would say to anyone is, we all have challenges, okay? Whether it's medical and mental, but that's not who we are. So, that's a delicate dance that you want to kind of get to know someone a little bit, what is their heart, what is their intention, etc. Unless they ask something, then you will know. Follow your intuition when it's right to say, I myself have been challenged and was born with this, or challenged with this, and I have it under control with medication. You'll know, follow your intuition, but don't overshare. Don't lead with that. I wouldn't recommend leading with that because, again, that's not who you are. That's just something that you deal with, that you've been, handed as an assignment, and will deal with in your eloquent way.
Yeah. Like, for instance, I'll give you, we'll do a role play right here. We're sitting there at a coffee day for the very first time. Kathleen's very nice to meet you. I think it's very nice. I just want to let you know I have PTSD because I served in the Army, and if I hear loud noises, I'll freak out and crawl under the table. So don't freak out.
Okay. Hang on. There's an emergency. I'll be right there.
Yeah. Well, one of the things is you just got to understand that some people will do that out of the way of to help you to understand who they are. At least they're thinking they're doing you a favor.
Yes.
But at the same time, are you prepared to wanting to develop a relationship that someone who would have that kind of obstacle to deal with? Is it something that will go away, something that can be fixed? We don't really know. So this is something that you have to make those kind of decisions. This is why it's so important to kind of understand and have that so-called discussion or that talk as you start to get to know someone, your family history, or anybody in the family, that has anything that you need to be aware of.
Absolutely. And more than likely, I will tell you, as I have come out of my shell through decades of sharing, because there was a point in my life where, because it was shameful, I didn't share about, things such as that. And I found when I did tip my toe into that, how many people it gave them permission to also share either what they're dealing with or their family member.
Yeah.
And it opened up the conversation for connection, which it can also for you. So it comes down to, don't be afraid to be authentic. Just follow your instinct in terms of timing, in terms of the whole, mental landscape. But again, mental health, it's mental health. It basically, mental health is a part of our overall health.
Yep.
It's mind, body, and spirit. So, we'll have another episode on that, talking about faith or spirit. But, this is the trinity of who we are, MBS is what I call it. And it's all part of the human condition.
Yeah.
Right.
And just keep in mind, the reason why we're bringing this topic up in the podcast is that mental health in a relationship is something that everybody needs to not push under the rug. This is something that everyone should have good knowledge about yourself, about your mate. This also helps you in, of course, emotional times on how to handle the situations. So do you want to move to the next category, or we want to stay here a little bit more?
I just wanted to mention that, it opens up the space for you working on yourself, which again is an opportunity and an inroad to real connection.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it at that. I think we've driven that home.
So before we go to the next one, just want to let you know, for those of you who've seen me on the 365 method, the 365 consciousness podcast, we've moved that to the 365method.com. I just wanted to be able to serve the needs in a different way than doing it from a podcast. I'm doing actually, in this case, online coaching with video coaching. So that helps in tremendously on helping you to develop and refine self, as well as Kat, who has the hypnotherapy. You want to talk a little bit real quick about that, about mental health and your hypnosis?
We can do that on another episode.
Well, no, I mean, we're doing a kind of just segue from that, right?
Oh, for mental health. Okay, sure. Okay. So we have not officially launched Heart Space Hypnosis. It's been on my heart for decades because I've practiced it, self-hypnosis, cured myself of a pack and a half of cigarettes a day through self-hypnosis, amongst other mental health challenges and issues. And recently, in the past year and a half, God kept giving me signs to further my education, to ultimately go on to get a master practitioner certification for hypnosis. And I'm now able to help other people with hypnosis to wonderful transformations, whether it's ridding yourself of an addiction, a mindset, or one of my favorites, as I've helped Jeff, who is an adult baseball entrepreneur, if you will.
No, I play in a men's league, competitive men's league that does tournaments and so forth.
Very competitive. And so advanced sports, I've helped several people, including Jeff, to increase their performance for high performance sports, et cetera. So stay tuned for that. We're working on getting the website robust and launching it. We'll be having, some notices on that.
Fantastic.
Forward.
Yeah. So just stay in tune. Leave your comments below. We are going to answer some of these questions. Hopefully we can get to everyone's questions on future podcasts. So don't forget to do that. You can always contact us as well. She has Troulinos.com. I have YahooPublishing.com, as well as the 365method.com. So you can reach us anywhere.
And now, you probably don't know how to spell Kat Troulino, so just go to Yahoo Publishing if you're interested in the book or any of the books that we
her name is on it.
Publish. Well, it is on the book, but they'd have to buy the book to see how to spell it.
So that means you have to buy the book.
Amazon.com or Yahoo Publishing.com is where you can find that.
Okay, so how are we going to the second part?
We're talking about to ensure safety when someone is dating from a dating app.
That's
and
right.
I know, and by the way, any of our topics, please, leave your questions. If there's topics about online dating that you'd like us to address, let us know. We'll write an episode on it and cover whatever your questions are. But the second topic is how to stay safe.
Yeah, very important.
Okay, very important. Whether you're new to online dating or you've been doing it for a while and maybe you haven't had success, whether it's with your profile or safety, etc. So number one, and they didn't have this back in 1998. So we spent hours and hours and hours on the telephone before we actually met, because there were no FaceTimes or video chatting. So number one thing we recommend is do a video chat.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, unless you're just looking to titillate yourself or waste time, and you're bored. I would recommend not spending a lot of time going back and forth on emails or messages on the app, etc. Because I'll tell you, even in 1998, I did do that. I got caught into, really long emails back then is what it was. And, how much can you really tell on an email? You can have someone who's a prolific writer, okay, who knows how to navigate, and is a wordsmith.
Yeah.
But there's no chemistry, and you really haven't found out anything about them except for what they're willing to answer, and most of the time. So I got caught up in that. And that's why I started research and was on several sites and did 9 coffee dates in a week, because I was on a mission to find out the do's, the don'ts, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And one of the first things that I learned was very quickly, if there's an interest, if the profile captures your interest, you've got, a little bit of communication, very quickly jump to, and in this case, it's going to be a video call, because you're going to be able to tell right off, number one, are they representing themselves?
That's right.
Pretty close to, on video for real, as close to real, right? Unless, I don't know, I just found out about some scary software where you can make avatars and be someone else, but that's a whole nother story. Hopefully that's not happening.
A lot of misrepresentations can happen on online profiles.
So you can circumvent that pretty quickly by jumping on a video call.
Yeah. Can I FaceTime you real quick? Let me just get to know you real quick, because you can waste good week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks and on just by exchanging emails or messages.
Right.
So,
and I'm all about, and I was back then, being a single mom, over 40, a single mom, a homeowner, a high demanding job in corporate America. Time was, this was efficient to me. This is why I was so fascinated with this medium back then, 25 plus years ago, because it was so efficient.
Yeah.
The potentiality for being so efficient and time saving. So can't say that enough, and then again, which I will reiterate 5 million times, follow your intuition. If there's a disparaging misrepresentation from what you saw on the profile to what it shows up, if they're looking like a model and you do a video call and they look like they just, rolled out of bed, drinking a beer, and their apartment's a mess. I don't know what the different things could be, but look for consistency.
Yeah.
You will know.
Yeah. And also when you do decide to date, you got to do those safety checks, like public places.
So that's the second thing, is public meetups with an exit plan. So what does that mean? With an exit plan. So you've heard me say coffee dates. I think coffee dates are great. There's not a huge commitment, sitting through dinner or sitting through a long meal, because the bottom line is, you can pretty much tell. Now you've already had the video call. So you're not going to have the disadvantage that I had in 1998 where, okay, they passed the audio call, you know, there was not any big discomfort on the phone. There was a nice organic flow of conversation, and we seemed to gel. Let's meet for coffee. So you're going to already have gone through, kicking my microphone. You're going to have already gone through that. So, you know, now you're in a public place. So now, you know, past the video, you get to see him in the flesh in real life. So, you know, coffee shop, coffees, you know, a casual restaurant, even a community event. You want to drive yourself. Don't have anybody pick you up. Okay. You want to tell a friend. Let a friend or a family member know your plans. And, you know, it's real easy with technology now. You can share your location. So once you get there, you know, make sure you share your location because maybe it changed. Oh, so-and-so coffee shop's closed. We're going to go over here. Share your location. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, trust your gut over the profile. Slow is safe.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, people who are looking for serious connections, they won't rush you into anything emotionally or physically. That should be a huge, major red flag if someone tries to rush you. Like they just met you and they're in love with you. Oh, they've never met anyone like you. They're, you know, whoa.
Wait, what's wrong with that?
Slow down.
Didn't I do that to you?
Oh, yeah, you did kind of.
Yeah. But now look, 26 plus years later. It depends who it is.
Okay. And I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. But you didn't tell me you loved me, like, you know, until we had clocked in how many hours?
Well, yes, of course.
Yeah. I mean, we literally, you know, we were mature.
Well, let's say this. I wasn't, you know, in love, like romantic. I loved her just because the greatness of her, of the energy of her, the person that she is, you know, those things as I got to know.
You didn't say I love you, you know.
Well, I think I remember saying something that says, I love you just because how great you are, to give you the clarity that I wasn't loving you like what we were traditionally romantic.
Okay.
I remember us.
Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. After
well, and that's
7 hours a day.
And that's probably why that didn't scare me off. Yes. Because you did say it in almost like
I said you were incredible.
I really adore who you are, who I'm finding you out to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did say before we actually met in person, something, do you remember exactly something like, unless you are completely different than who you have showed me to be in all of these hours of conversation, I'm going to end up marrying you. I think you said that.
Something like that.
You kind of proposed over the phone before I met him. Okay. So we broke all the rules.
Yeah. Well, again, this is a number one. Are you ready? That always goes down to that. Are you ready? And she's prepared herself so well, and I've prepared myself so well at that time. So that's why that works, you know. All right. So we're running out of time. We're going to wrap up this episode of the podcast. Don't forget to visit us at yayupublishing.com. There's the downloadable worksheet under the free stuff, as well as chapters that you can preview the books. If you're wanting to get the book, just hit bookstore and it'll take you there. Along with that, 365 method. Don't forget, come visit me. You have private coaching over there. Nice. And take us out there.
So I'm going to close out with just saying, remember that love starts with self-respect, self-love. And that means, yes, honoring your mental health, no matter where you're at with it, and your safety. And when? From day one. Absolutely day one. So if you're brave enough to be vulnerable and you're wise enough to stay safe, you're already on the path to something real. How could you not be? So until next time, keep believing in miracles, especially online.
Yeah, that's right. We'll see you. And here's the kiss.
And you're going to start. Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Well, howdy ho. Thank you for being back. I'm Jeff.
I'm Kat. I'm the bear. This is my big bear.
That's right. And we are Miracles Online Podcast. Everything about relationships, online dating, commitment, and marriage.
All right. And today we're going to talk about two important topics that you may have questions about. Number one is financial stability, and when and how should it be talked about for financial stability. Jeff's going to take that away. And our second topic is going to be, how do I navigate during fatigue or burnout? And I've heard this story from quite a few online daters. So Jeff, let's start with the financial stability.
Well, one of the things that's always touchy subject is the financial someone's worth or their capacity, whatnot. And the first thing that comes to mind, of course, is gold digging, right? Oh, I'm looking for a doctor, Well, let me bring this up. And the reason why we wanted to bring this topic in play is not just so much as saying, oh, if you don't make enough money, I'm not interested in dating you. There's a lot more to it than that. And I'll give you an example. If you were interested in someone who was a professional musician, professional athlete, and they're actively working, and for instance, they say, hey, once season starts, I'm going to be gone probably 6 weeks at a time for the next 6 months. Are you okay with that?
Absolutely. So it's not really the financial worth so much, although that has a play, because that may be under your what I call negotiables or non-negotiables. Okay. For me, I learned it was a non-negotiable because through my research and dating, I found quite a few men who were married to their careers, who made excellent money, but that was a non-negotiable for me to have someone who was that tied to their job, because I knew enough about me. And it goes back to that self-reflection of, knowing your negotiables and your non-negotiables and taking the time to put them to paper and really know what is my intention? What do I really want in a relationship? And what do I absolutely do not want in a relationship? And that's different for everyone. But as Jeff mentions, the career, or you mentioned when we were offline, well, what if you, connected with an individual who didn't have a job?
That's right. So if you found somebody that you really resonated with, but that person has never worked.
Oh, okay. So that's another thing.
Never worked in their life.
Never worked.
Is that a problem for you?
I hope so.
But I would say, I hope not.
Well, I hope you hope not. Why? Okay. And here's where we have to delineate. If it's a woman who's never worked, I think that's more acceptable. She could be just leaving her parents' home, or maybe she's still living at home. I mean,
that's right.
I don't know. It's probably not so much acceptable for a man. And I'm sorry, we still have these roles. I think they're blending more with dual income and so forth. And so many variables, Jeff, come into play. And that is, how old are they? Okay. So, where are they? Maybe they're still in college. Maybe they're getting their master's or their doctorate and they haven't had a job yet. So many things come into play. Mm-hmm. Again, it's back to use your intuition. If they're 30 years old and living with mom and dad and not going to school and not doing anything, well, okay, that might be a red flag for you. Maybe they're a sculptor, however. And maybe they're on a verge of, getting a huge contract with a museum. I don't know. There's so many variables. And this is where you need to really listen to your intuition. When Jeff and I met, and, again, I've got a few years on Jeff. I've been in corporate America, made a heck of a lot more money than he did, was a homeowner, et cetera. So if I was looking for someone who did as well, or if not better, and that was the only criteria, Jeff and I would have never gotten together. But along those lines, let's talk about, it's not just what are the digits on your job. We've talked about that. What is the job commitment. What does it look in the day of a life of a musician or an accountant or a plumber? What does that look like? Does that meet your lifestyle requirements in a mate? But then there's a deeper concept, and that is, how do they view money? Okay, because this tells you a lot. Are they generous? Are they stingy? Are they frugal? On the verge of stingy? What is their concept of money? Because whether they have it or whether they don't isn't as important as how they view it. Would you agree with that, Jeff?
I agree with that a lot. It just in the fact that because of the way that money is valued in an individual's paradigm, it could definitely generate the type of relationship that you want or you don't want. And you won't know that unless you ask some of the questions. Sure, you could say, oh, well, he's a generous tipper because you went to dinner and you saw he's a generous tipper.
And that is, how someone treats the servers, how they tip. Yep. That is something to look at,
right,
as well.
But is it real? Is it that real person doing the real thing?
Or are they trying to impress?
That's exactly right. Are they just doing something that they've read, so they know they're on their date on their best behavior? That's another thing too. It's just you have to ask some of these touchy questions, because in a real relationship, these are no longer issues. They're not boundaries. They're not walls. You are now together, and you would work on these things together if you're a couple. Finance is number one. And that was one of the top key reasons that I've always heard about divorce, is that there are issues on money in financials.
Absolutely. And this is a perfect segue for that, Jeff. In the book, and I'm not, because this isn't the book with the right pages on it, but there's a graphic early on in the book that talks about profiles and what women look for and what men look for. Now, 32% women, over 18% for men, a non-negotiable would be religion. Okay. Religious beliefs. Okay. Rightfully so. But number two is a person's occupation, and rightfully so. That should be based on and that's 27% for women and a mere 8% for men. And again, that's because of, our social norms, how our social norms have been. Men are not as concerned about the occupation as women would be, because women, especially if they're of childbearing, are looking for a husband while they're bearing children that can take care of the family, et cetera. So a person's occupation. And again, that's not just the digits, it's a concept of how they view money and how they are in terms of their heart. So how would you say is a good way to measure, excuse me, whether it's male or female, that someone is generous, has a generous being, a generous soul?
Well, I would judge that not according to financials.
No, absolutely. Right? That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
But the fact remains is that your own self and your own comfort and your own paradigm in regards to what is financial stability, what is comfort, what is security. Those are the things, whether you're a female or male, everyone has one. The key thing is true love above that.
That's such a good point.
Because here's my fact. When I was dating, I wasn't looking at anybody's income, because due to the fact that I know income's manipulable, meaning that you can get income from so many different ways, or money. You can get money from so many different ways. So I would never say, well, this person does this, so their income is going to be limited to that. My thing always been, oh, this person does this. How much time is there enough for me in the relationship?
So we were on the same page, weren't we? So you weren't looking for a sugar mama. I wasn't looking for a sugar daddy. I knew how to make six figures. I was looking for someone who had a generous heart, a generous spirit, who had the time, as he mentioned, who had the time, but at the same respect, no matter what age you are, childbearing or over 40s or over 60s, I was looking for someone and found in Jeff a sense of responsibility that he would do whatever it took because he loved me so much.
Well, she required it. It's true. She actually said, you know, or what are you going to do? And I said, well, you know, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. You go, and she actually looked at me and said, whatever it took. Right. And I go, yeah, of course. In the fact, yes, the relationship. I don't
remember that. I
remember that.
Wow.
Because, you know, you have to understand that I was over on the west side of Los Angeles into San Fernando Valley working as a webmaster. She was in the cusp of Inland Empire in Orange County. So there's an hour plus to 2 hours drive. And I knew that if we were going to play the driving game, that was going to destroy the relationship because of the fatigue. Number one.
So that was a huge reason why, well, that was a fundamental reason why we chose to get married so soon, because he knew that long distance for us, and we'll cover that in another episode, how to navigate a long distance relationship. But he knew at the point of where we were in the relationship that would not work. But, you know, it's interesting that you say, because I don't remember that I said, you know, those words to you.
Yeah.
But you do want to early on, because I will tell you, and I heard this from Steve Harvey. I love Steve Harvey. And he gives a lot of relationship advice. If you've never seen him on his show or his podcast, I don't think it's a podcast. I think it's an actual show. He says, you need to verbalize to your significant other what is required. Because his wife did that. They've been married, I think, 30 some years now. And he decided when he met her, he was going to marry her. He says, she let me know what was required. I had my assignment. And so it was.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
So, but
clear about it.
You have to have someone on the other end of that relationship who says, I want her or I want him.
Yeah.
And I am willing to step up to the plate to deliver.
That's right.
The requirement.
But let's also be realistic. You can't sit there and go, well, I think you're great. And I think you're perfect for me, but I want you to do this. And I want you to make this kind of money. Because now all of a sudden you're no longer really saying that, oh, I love you for who you are. I love you for your potential. And that is absolutely a dead end road. I promise you.
To love you for your potential?
Oh, yeah. No, never love a potential, you know?
Oh, no. You have to accept that individual.
Yeah, the way it is.
They are right then. So
exactly.
If I was coming from a place where, well, to make this union, I need you to make X.
Yeah.
And let me know when you make X, and then maybe we can talk about, you know, getting together. I was not in that place. I did not. That was not a requirement.
If somebody would have said that to me and says, you must make X or this isn't going to happen, would I want to put that financial burden on myself and that kind of stress just so I can be with that person?
Right. And you would only be able to make that decision.
Right.
Now let's talk about career. You know, let's say he knew, because he's been a musician in varying degrees, more so, you know, in bands in the 80s and so forth. But, you know, on an independent level throughout our marriage in various capacities, we've actually been in a band together. So he knew, I think, from, you know, throughout our time together, that if he was to go in a band and travel, that would not probably be a good thing for our relationship. Am I wrong?
No, that's absolutely correct. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I made a conscious decision in regards to change my professional musician career when I got married. The whole thing about us ending up in the band was heaven sent, because it was this discussion from the very get-go. How can we be in a great relationship and be around and be with each other in our lives and do things together, just like what we're doing right now? This is not something that all of a sudden we just got an idea. Well, I mean, sure it did. Came from Josh Reed saying, hey, you guys should do a relationship podcast.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, that's true. But
I'm finding out new things about him.
Well,
after almost 27 years.
So I don't talk in my sleep. That's what happens. No, the truth behind that, if I was wanting this relationship, I knew the person that I was going to be with was going to be fantastic. And she showed me exactly who she was. And I knew it would be incredible with her. Now, if I was to then veto or go on a fork of the road and start going on my own path again without her. Oh, I got a job. I can do this. Not going to be gone for 6 months on a tour. This is all about me all of a sudden. And this relationship isn't all about me. So I already came to a firm decision from the very early days that this isn't about me anymore. This is about us.
Yeah,
right.
It's about us.
So when the opportunity to do a record and then saying, hey, you can go tour the record, what are you going to do? You play piano and flute and harmonica and all that. Come join the band. What?
I became a musician.
I just remember the what? What are we doing? I go, just do this. It'll work. Trust me. And in the situation where we had in our lives at that time, this was a perfect segue for us to move away from our dynamic at that point, which was sink or swim. You know, financially, lifestyle wise, we were living in California. California was really becoming a shit show at that point. And this today, of course, a lot of people who are in California is going, what is happening to our wonderful state? Is because of, we already saw it was being destroyed 20 plus years ago. And a lot of people are not prepared for that. We were. We're very fortunate that we were prepared. And also, let me just be very honest about this. God had his hand in us.
Absolutely.
And it was directing us. And yet, you know, by no means, I'm not religious. She's a, you know, conservative Christian. I am not. But yet, we both believe in the right thing.
I'm working on them.
I do believe in the power of, in the Christ consciousness, the creator. You know, I do know that I am not so great that I make my decisions, you know. But at this point, I have to make a solid, concrete decision for what we were dealing with. And I asked, you know, the higher source to say, hey, how should we approach this? And it definitely is the day one, what you promised her. Be together, do things together, and fruit together. Because if you're going to plant the seeds and farm the land, you're going to reap the rewards together. You know, and that's what marriage is about. That's what a great relationship's about. And that's what true love will bring you. So to me, again, don't shy away from the financial stability, the financial security question. These things can open up. If you meet someone who is so, oh, I can't believe you're asking this question, and he immediately becomes two-faced. Oh, you just want my money, or all that. Immediately, that defensive mechanism. Are you going to now be Florence Nightingale and try to save this person? Or are you going to sit there and go, oh, I've never seen this side of you. This is a side I don't really like because my ex was like this, or my dad was like this, or
it just doesn't resonate.
Yeah. Right. So don't ever be afraid to ask the money question, unless you just find out, hey, you know, you want a piece of thing, then you got to make $100,000. You know, of course, we all know you're on the wrong site for true love. So with that is my take on the financial stability. Don't forget, let me just remind everyone here, all the books that we have, Miracles Online, 365 Method, everything's at yayupublishing.com, YAYU. That means I love you, yayu.com. There's also a free button at Yayu where you can download the tips for the profile.
This is the top 5 profile tips for men and women. So they're a little bit different from men to women.
Just hit PDF and print that out for yourself.
Our gift to you. Download it, enjoy it.
And then, of course, there's sample chapters of all the books that we publish. You can download, get your whistles wet, feet wet, whatnot. And then you can buy the book at the bookstore. It would redirect you to the author's page and be able to get your book. You can also get it on Kindle. So a lot of ways for you to be able to get these knowledges, these informations from us. And now with that, Kat's going to bring us to this one topic about fatigue. And it is just, you know, I would say turn up and listen up.
So I've heard this from several online daters that, in the world that I'm involved in, and that is, getting exhausted, burnout, if you will, online dating fatigue. And so what do you do? What do you do when that happens? You want to bring joy back into the process is what you want to do. And sometimes it just takes, taking a step back into the process. What would you think, Jeff, would be a good thing to do to take a breath from dating?
Well, number one, don't be so next,
speed swiping. Don't speed swipe.
Okay, if you're doing that, that person's not good enough. This person don't have this. That person don't have that. Okay, evaluate. And like Kat says, you got to have your list of the good negotiables and non-negotiables. Did you make that list? This is like a pros and cons list, right? It's like the Ben Franklin, the right and the left side of the page.
If you've heard of the Ben Franklin, the goods and the bads, but the non-negotiables is absolutely that if that's part of the profile or what you find out about the profile, that's put the cards down.
Yeah.
But quality over quantity is what I would say. Don't speed swipe.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's the fast track to fatigue is speed swiping.
Right. So make your list. That's number one, organization, to know what you're going for.
So one suggestion I read about was, is to make it fun again, is to do walk and talks, creative dates, or even double dates. So what's a walk and talk? Instead of a coffee, say, hey, let's meet at, a public place, park or whatever, bring your Starbucks, and you're walking in the park together, chatting. Even, as they mentioned, a double date.
So break the dynamic up a little bit to be a little bit different.
Yep.
Not just having the same old. Okay, this is my third one, and I got 5 more minutes with you. If you start doing those type of dating behaviors, you will find yourself to get really tiresome of this whole charades, and pretty soon you'll convince yourself out of, I'm not finding anybody.
Yep. Yeah. And that's I really have to, talk about reverse engineering on here, because I think you will mitigate online dating fatigue if you really, pause, prepare. Writing your profile can be a work in progress. Go back to your profile, because we're dynamic, living, being, changing, humans. Go back, if you haven't, in a month or 2 or even 3, and look at your profile. See how you've changed, how your thoughts changed, or your view of the world, or your view of who you're looking for, and retweak it. That can make a huge difference on doing that. Relook at, before you do that, again, reverse engineering, go back a step and revisit your negotiables and your non-negotiables. What am I really looking for in my mate? Someone I want to possibly spend the rest of my life with. One of the most important decisions you will ever make. Spend some time on it, but go back. Just because you did it and it's there doesn't mean you can't redo it, revisit it, revise it, revitalize it to be representative of who you are, your authentic self, and who you truly want to let enter into your life or to screen out of your life. So I think that's it in a nutshell for dating, online dating fatigue. Just don't let yourself get there. If it does, just reverse engineer, go back, retrack, remake, redo, rethink. And I think you'll be glad you did.
Yeah. And always question yourself. Like I said, if it is you that's creating this unattainable expectation, you need to identify that. Because if you're doing that, you're putting yourself out of the league. You're taking yourself out of the equation. So be serious about understanding, what do you want? Take your time. really be diligent on flushing that out. This is not just, like I always said, the walking on the beach, watching sunset. Really?
Yeah, looking for someone to make me happy. Or don't come out as negative Nelly. Oh, I'm so tired of blah, 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 blah. I'm looking for something real. Those two are just, killers. They're killers. Yeah. Number one, it's just so vague. You're going to get, everything. You're not going to filter out anything that's going to be a match for you because it's so general, and it doesn't tell the other potential person anything about you, about who you really are.
Well, let's take one step deeper on that. When you're talking about some certain generality of this, watching the sunset and going to, take walks, romantic walks on the beach type of thing, all of a sudden there's several thousand profiles that does that. But if you go deeper and says, I really love nature, I'm looking for someone to do hikes into national parks. I loved, doing trails. I love going to waterfalls. When you get to breaking down little specifics, all of a sudden that fine tunes not only the algorithm, but the energy of the universe on what you desire and what you projected. Now, when somebody comes back and they're reading a profile and they're going, oh, well, romantic dinners, walking, on the beach, sunset, oh, waterfall and park. What's this about? Oh, you like hiking? I love hiking. I've been hiking since I was a kid. And you're like, oh, national parks. Hey, I've always wanted to go to Yosemite. That connects so much deeper, so much truer.
And when you go to the profile picture, a picture of you at some favorite place of yours, a national park, or if you like to ride horses, on a horse, whatever it is, showing you, your authentic self, and you in those specific places. Yeah, I think tells so much more about who the real you is, because yes, we are all so similar, and who doesn't like a long walk on the beach, hand in hand with the person you love, with the cool sand, beneath your feet. I mean, we all love that.
Well done it.
We've all done it, but it doesn't set you apart.
That's right.
To attract, because we are, as much as we are the same, we are absolutely one of a kind, unique, God miracle dusts. Yeah. Each and every one of us.
That's right.
Is unique. So share your uniqueness. Yeah. Think about it and share your uniqueness. And the magical thing that will happen is that person who is going to be attracted to that uniqueness will come to you and share their uniqueness.
Yes.
And that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. So as we get ready to wrap up, I'm just want to remind everybody that here on Red Pill Project, decentralized media, we're so excited to be on this platform. And my past podcast, as some of you might have seen, the 365 Consciousness, has moved to the 365method.com. I decided to do that with the book to be more of a personal service and coaching for you, opposed to this. This is, to me, we're touching more lives and more people about finding true love. And that, to me, is more beneficial and it's more to my heart to do something with my lovely bear. And with that, she's got a story that she's going to take us out with. So are you ready to tell us the story?
Yep. Actually, it's a reader submitted this. And it goes like this. After reading Miracles Online, I felt seen in a way I didn't expect. Your book helped me reflect on something I hadn't wanted to admit out loud, how drained I'd become from online dating. The constant swiping, the short-lived chats, the ghosting, it all started to feel more exhausting than exciting. I thought maybe it was just me, but then your words reminded me that burnout doesn't mean I'm failing at love. It means I'm human. You gave me permission to slow down, to take a break, and to come back to dating with more intention. I even created, I love this, a dating detox plan for myself. And when I returned to the apps, I showed up differently, more grounded, more hopeful, and more in tune with what I really want. Another thing that struck me was how real you were about values. especially around things like financial stability. That topic used to make me feel shallow for even considering it important. But now I see that it's not about chasing someone's income. It's about finding someone whose relationship with money aligns with mine. Isn't that key? Your perspective helped me realize that shared goals and respect around finances are a huge part of building something sustainable. Thank you for putting truth and heart into the world that can feel so surface level. Miracles Online reminded me that I'm not looking for perfect. I'm looking for partnership. And most of all, that miracles really do happen when we show up with courage and clarity, with love and renewed hope. Thank you so much for, it was anonymous, but thank you so much for that kind letter. And I'm wishing you your miracle online very soon, and renewed hope and refreshment as you do your dating detox. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. And thank you for tuning in to a Miracles Online podcast.
Or what we like to call MOP.
Yeah. Welcome you to leave us comments with your questions or any kind of stories that you'd like to share with us. We would love to have that. And hopefully that on Saturday broadcasts, we're going to start going forward and start doing live streaming on Saturday to answer real-time questions and answers from everyone. So look forward to that.
Exciting.
Meantime, much love to everyone and much love to my little bear.
My big bear.
Bye.
Okay, I'm exhausted. I love you, bear.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Miracles Online podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jeff, and this is
Kat.
Yeah. And today, Kat's going to bring us a topic that I'm not even familiar with because I've never heard of it.
Got to stay on top of these things, sweetie. It's been a while.
It sure has, hasn't it? Well, maybe I start dating again, right?
Oh, excuse me. Did you hear that?
Hard no.
After going on 27 years? Yeah, you have a date with picking up your underwear on the floor.
Well.
We are going to talk about something, and it's really kind of metaphorically descriptive, and it's called breadcrumbing. So I ran across this and kind of dove deep into it. It's not in the book because I don't think this was coined, as we didn't know much about online dating back in 1998. Is that when I began the book?
Yes.
So we were pioneers in this format.
Yes, I came to her house in a covered wagon.
Yeah, right. But I took over almost 20 years to write it. So, but breadcrumbing kind of took my interest. And, you know, as I speak to a lot of just different age ladies and gentlemen about online dating and their experiences, I have heard this phenomena, not coined it, but actuality. So what is breadcrumbing? Breadcrumbing is when someone sends you communication intermittently. Often they're flirty messages, just enough to keep your interest, but with no real intention of pursuing any kind of a connection or a real relationship. It is manipulative. It can be a manipulative form of emotionally stringing you along. And who needs that, right? So, you know, again, the term comes you know, kind of obviously from, you know, leaving a trail of crumbs, small signs of interest. So you continue to follow. They're keeping you hooked in, giving you little bits, you know, breadcrumbs. Okay. Hoping that you're going to want more, and you're hoping for more, but the trail never leads to anything real.
What would be the purpose of doing this?
Okay, that's a good question. Okay. First off, I want to talk about how is it different from ghosting, because we've talked about ghosting before, and ghosting again is a metaphor for, you know, disappearing.
Casper.
Basically, yeah. We're dating ourselves. Casper, the friendly ghost. Who knows about that? Maybe not many people. So ghosting is just a complete cutoff. Like you it's basically breadcrumbing is more deceptive because they're giving you just a little bit. The person doesn't vanish. Instead, they just keep resurfacing just enough to keep your hopes up. Where ghosting, they may start out and wow, you might think you have a connection and then poof, they're gone like a ghost.
Woof.
Yeah. So what are some signs, because you don't want to obliterate a potential connection if you jump to conclusions. So what are some signs of breadcrumbing?
Well, let me ask you this question. How long does it take to identify that you're being breadcrumbed?
That's a good question, Jeff. That is a very good question. So inconsistent communication, that's the biggest thing. Let's say you're having a communication, you're texting, etc., and then nothing. And then out of the blue, and that's where they draw you back in. So out of the blue, they come back and then they disappear, and it's a pattern. Okay. It's a pattern of random messages or likes without any real sustained effort.
Could this be considered breadcrumb? Let's say I answer an ad. We passed a couple of emails. I called her. She called me. Then I don't hear anything. I leave a message, and a couple of days later, she calls back. Then I call her again. We have a conversation. Then she disappears again for a few more days until well, what's going on?
Okay, that's definitely breadcrumbing. And I want to make it very clear. Okay. You will hear me say this on every episode. In the whole, human condition, the human dynamic, you've got to listen to your inner wisdom, okay? Because things happen. Whether you're in potential relationship, or in a business, anything, you don't want to jump to conclusions. Life happens, things happen. And so you don't want to jump to conclusions. The key here, Jeff, is looking for a pattern. What is a pattern? A pattern repeats itself. Now, let's say in this scenario that you gave, that after a few days later, she contacted you and, she had a family emergency and had to fly out to go see the family. That's, that's part of what, life dishes out, right? And maybe she was not in a position emotionally, headspace, or physically to get back with you, right? But if this happened, I would say 3 times or more, you've got a pattern. So that's when you want to really, have your eyes open. So what will happen is it'll look something like this. Plans will never materialize. And I have talked to acquaintances who are in the online dating where they talk about plans and then for one thing and another, it never materializes. Again, if it's a one-off, listen to your inner knower, use your intuition, and decide whether this is real or not. But they might say things like this: we should hang out soon. Okay, so they're pulling that string out there. Wow, I like where this is going. I like our connection. We should hang out soon. But they never follow up with any plans.
Okay, so it's just dangling that carrot. So okay, give me a date, and then nothing.
Yep. So it's a hot and cold behavior. Just, as they feel like they're losing you a little, they'll dangle that breadcrumb again to get you back. And we're going to talk in a minute what are the reasons behind that and how you can circumvent that. But, it's like one day they'll be flirting heavily with you. The next day they're cold or distant. I know I've talked to friends that have that, like, it's so bizarre. They were just really into, we were really into each other and really connecting and having this flirtatious banter, and then nothing. And you're left wondering, what changed? And the worst thing is that, if you let yourself be too emotionally invested, but they offer no real connection or any clarity. Well, then you know what you've got, Jeff?
What do you have?
A digital relationship. And if that's what you want, if you're just looking to sit behind your phone or your computer or your tablet and have a digital relationship, and you can get off on that and you like that, well, only you know that. But if you are looking for a miracle online, for that special someone, you might not want to invest too much in that type of behavior when you see that pattern, because it's not going to go anywhere. Okay.
Well, so this is similar to when you say digital relationship, which we're messaging, we're texting, or social media, but we never meet or get together.
Oh, you're right? Perfect, because that's my next point, Jeff, and that is where it is just digital. If you have just online, and again, I have talked to friends who, I'm like, how's it going? And it's still digital. I'm thinking, they don't really have an intention, because I know you have an intention to actually move forward and get to know this person. I wonder if they have an intention. And that is definitely, if they don't make, a move to have at least a face call, a video call, but, ideally to meet in person, that's a red flag. So that's definitely a red flag. So
if I get FaceTime from you a couple of times here, is that considered still breadcrumbing?
Well, it's still digital. And again, is that coupled with, we FaceTime and then you didn't hear from me for a week.
That's right.
And we were like so connected.
I'm so into you.
Yeah. So
you're so pretty.
I don't know about the pretty.
Let's go to dinner. Tell me when.
Yeah. But did you go to dinner?
Then nothing. I hear crickets.
Then nothing. Yeah.
What's the deal with that?
It's a red flag, like your red shirt.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Definitely. So let's go into, Jeff, what the next section is, the psychology behind breadcrumbing. Because what I want you to take away, if anything, on this is that it's not about you. And do not start to think, what's wrong with me? I did something. Start to put a label on yourself, because it's not about you. Because individuals who exercise in this psychological game of breadcrumbing, number one thing they're trying to do is they're trying to boost their ego. Okay.
Seriously?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Some people breadcrumb simply, Jeff, to feel validated.
Okay, anybody out there doing this, you need to stop. That's not nice. That's just not nice.
Please. But there's a lot of people out there, and God bless them, and let's pray for them, that don't have good self-esteem. They were never validated when they were young. Maybe they weren't validated as young adults, and it's the only thing they know. I'm not saying you're out there to fix them. No, because your number one responsibility is to yourself.
Yes.
And staying healthy and pursuing a healthy relationship and a two-way relationship. Excuse me.
Well, how long do I let this go before I decided that enough is enough? This is breadcrumbing 101, right?
Yes. That's I just want to make a couple more points on the reasons behind it, Jeff.
Go ahead.
So besides ego boosting, another thing is a fear of being alone or rejected. So there's a lot of lonely people out there. And unfortunately, many of them, some of them will hide behind.
How ironic is that? I want to date. I got people interested in me, but I'm lonely, but I don't want to see you.
I know.
What's that about?
I really think it's more complex than separating those two. I think it's a dimension of having low self-esteem and not knowing how to get out of your loneliness. And so you tip your toe into hiding behind the digital format, but you don't really feel confident enough to put yourself really out there. So again, look at the flags, because again, you're not here to heal other people. Ideally, you want someone whole, and you're whole, and you're coming together, and two wholes are making more than a whole.
That's right.
You don't need to fix anyone. You can just pray for them and gently and kindly release them.
Yeah.
Emotional maturity is another thing. They just may not be emotionally mature.
I was crowning Prince on that one.
Were you? Why do you say that?
The maturity that I exhibited as a young man when we met. That's what charmed you.
It actually was.
See?
It actually was his maturity. Yes, because I wasn't looking for someone who was a decade younger than me. I typically dated men who were my age or older, a few years older, but I was very impressed with his emotional maturity. Absolutely.
Yeah, until I threw a fit.
threw a tantrum, and then
we all do.
And I had to put him in the corner, and it was not pretty. Okay, so another thing to point out is maybe they enjoy the attention, but they aren't mature enough to handle honest, vulnerable relationships. The last thing I will mention is power dynamics, and I think that goes back to ego. I think that's an immature, all these things tie together: fear of being alone, immaturity, not a high maturity level. And the power dynamics is, well, if I can control, I'm in control. Yes. And who needs a relationship like that? Someone
someone who wants to be controlled,
I guess, but I don't know.
But that wouldn't be a balanced
that's
relationship.
Not a healthy,
exactly.
No, that's not a healthy relationship.
Right.
Absolutely.
But that's another episode.
So breadcrumbing can be about control, as we mentioned, keeping someone emotionally attached without true intimacy. Okay. So let's talk about how does that affect the receiver of breadcrumbing. So, obviously it can emotionally drain you if you're not aware of it, if you're not conscious of it, if you're not consciously looking for those patterns, not to be a skeptic, but to go, okay, that's a red flag. Because we need to do that, whether we're dating online or not dating online. In any relationship, you need to look at red flags. Okay.
You want right at the beginning, especially.
Right at the beginning. So those telltale signs. Okay. Yeah. So it can be draining because you're trying to interpret mixed signals, and that's what they're giving you is mixed signals. And that can be exhausting. Like, well, they showed interest, but I don't know. But the worst thing is that you can start questioning your self-worth. Don't do that. Don't do that, because you're coming honest, whole, and forthright, and it's not about you. When someone pulls that kind of a power trip, it's not about you. You might, start thinking, or internalizing, it as a reflection of your value, and it's not. It really isn't. Yeah. So, for people with anxious attachment styles, breadcrumbing can activate deep fears of abandonment. I'm going to repeat that. For people with anxious attachment styles, is that you? Breadcrumbing can activate deep fears of abandonment. So, if you've done the reflection and you've done the self-work on yourself, because we all come from, childhood, young adulthood traumas that if we don't deal with, they deal with us. Hopefully you've dealt with those, but if you haven't and you're just starting to pull the veil off that, you might want to look at that, self-reflect on that, to say, oh, wait a minute, my dad abandoned us when I was 7. Am I hanging on to these breadcrumbs in a subliminal, subconscious manner to recreate and rewrite the story? You can't rewrite the story. Dad left for whatever reasons. You're better off for it. You're moving forward and growing, and you'll never replace that loss. And certainly you don't want to repeat, and be in a needy fashion. And this goes for men or women. I'm using a woman or female version for that, but that can be either one, right? Just don't let it identify your self-worth or trigger you to, something maybe from the past.
Yeah. Can I say this?
Yes.
Other people's actions does not define you.
Yeah.
Always remember that.
Yeah.
It's so huge that we use other people's opinion to judge ourselves. And that's not fair.
And, I just read something, I forget which book it was in my morning readings, but it was about how, I think it was Marcus Aurelius said, how we love ourselves. We say our love ourselves. However, so many of us put so much credit to what other people think of us. It's what we think of us, right? Not what other people think or say or, about us. Yeah. So,
but then if you come across saying, well, I don't give, about you, what you think of me, then all of a sudden I'm the a-hole for saying that.
No, but you're not. As I tell our granddaughter, when someone bullies you or says something, you tell them, what you think of me is none of my business.
Yeah.
And that really is, whether you articulate that or not, that should be a mindset that, again, other people's actions don't determine who you are.
That's right.
What your essence is. You
That's
hold
right.
true in your goodness and your truth. Absolutely. Yeah. So I think you think was, well, how do you respond to breadcrumbing, which we're going to come out and chat about in the next section here. So what would you suggest, Jeff?
Well, first and foremost, you have to, I think, come up with a time frame to say this is enough is enough. So what is enough is enough? For some people, it's 6 days. Some people, it's 6 weeks. Some people, 6 months. Okay. So realistically, if you're actively dating and you're looking for marriage, you're looking for commitment, you're looking for the true love, the one, then you're not there to kind of play the field anymore. You're there to with an intensive, focused agenda to find this mate for you. Now, if you're doing that, then why are you burning up 6 months of breadcrumbing? See, this is why it's different for everyone.
And I think on what you said, time certainly can be a barometer.
Absolutely.
Jeff. But I think as important as time is, because, everybody has different schedules. You might be online communicating with someone who's on a ship, and can't get a connection. I'm giving, bizarre, but there's, different, out of town work, et cetera. So time, yes, is something to consider. But I think more importantly, or as important, is look at those patterns, those red flag patterns that we called out earlier. And you can say something like, because you should call it out, but you should call it out gently. Okay. And so what would that look like? Excuse me, are you breadcrumbing me? Well, no, not exactly. But how about, hey, I've noticed some inconsistency. Are you really interested in moving this forward? Okay.
I think that's a great question.
Yeah. I think it's forthright. Sure. It's not pushy. It's not, dramatic. It's, hey, I see we're having a real connection here, but I see, I've been noticing some inconsistencies. Not, hey, you texted me and then I didn't hear, then you're whining, whether you're male or female, don't whine. Yeah. You're bigger and better than that. Don't whine. Just go, hey, I've noticed some inconsistencies and I'm curious. Are you interested in moving this forward? Yes, I am. Great. And then,
show up.
No, then you can give them, here's my sales 101. Yeah. Give them an alternate choice. Yes. Great. Would you like to meet for coffee on Tuesday at 10 or for lunch on Friday at noon?
Can I get back to you on that?
No. Give them an alternate choice. Yeah. Now, what does an alternate choice do? It gives them no way out to say yes or no. Don't give them a yes or no.
Yeah.
Great. That sounds great. Me too. I'm so glad. Lunch at noon Friday or coffee on Tuesday at 10. I can do either. Which will work for you?
Yeah. Can I get back to you next week? Yeah.
No.
See, no, you're absolutely right. I really do always believe that if you want to make a definitive move, you need to give that no longer a yes or no choice. It needs to be win choice. Because if this person isn't serious, then you need to know that. And if this person is inconvenient to be in your relationship, then you need to know that too.
And that's an important thing that you bring up, Jeff, because before I dove into online dating, and I did a couple short personal ads like you did back in the day before they had the match.com. But prior to that, it really wasn't on my radar because I knew mentally that I had a very busy career working for, corporate 100 company and was a single mom of 3 children. I knew I didn't have time to invest in a relationship to make it work. It wouldn't have been fair. Okay,
I fully understand that.
So that's something that when you're doing your self-work and self-reflection, make that assessment. Do you have time to give to a relationship?
Yes. Because
I'll tell you, we talked about this on the last episode, and I've re-emphasized it in something I read, that picking the right person to spend the rest of your life with is probably one, if not the most important decision you will make in your life. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's one of the most definitive change that we all endure when we join in matrimony with our significant other.
Endured?
Well, I mean, realistically, that this has to be your focus if you really want this so-called relationship, marriage, commitment to blossom. You can't go into it thinking, well, this is kind of like what I saw on TV. No, never. This is kind of,
he knows that.
Yeah. And or you know, I have my ways, and if this isn't going to work, then I'm not going to be happy. See, when you go into an opportunity for a commitment, you need to understand that this is not 50-50. This is sometimes 95-5, sometimes 99-1. It doesn't matter. It's the times that it flips a script when you need someone there for you, you can always count on it. Or do you ever have that? So this is why it's important that if you're experiencing breadcrumb, that you don't sit there and squander a lot of time, squander a lot of chances, that or just even your own efforts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that brings me to my next point is don't chase breadcrumbs. You deserve a full loaf. Okay. And you have to go in it knowing your self-worth. You really do. So you're worthy of consistent attention and effort, not intermittent. Okay. So don't settle for someone who's halfway in. Protect your heart. If someone isn't showing up, it's okay to emotionally step back. It's okay because you deserve 100%. You absolutely deserve 100%. And you need to balance that energy. If they're inconsistent, you don't need to overcompensate. That's another thing that I see is if they're inconsistent, the other person will try to overcompensate. And that doesn't work either, just to keep the conversation going. Don't do that. Let them reveal themselves. So I love this statement, and that is, well, how do you prevent it and how can you be empowered? And number one way is to know your worth before you log in. Right? And we talked about that, knowing your worth, knowing yourself, when we talked about the segment of how to create the best profile. And you really want to take the steps to know who you are, know what you want, know what you're willing to compromise and not compromise with. Because as Jeff pointed out, a committed relationship is about the yin and the yang and the flow and the compromise and knowing, when to ease up and when to go forth to make a balanced relationship. So, you want to date with clarity, not from desperation. Do not come from desperation because you're worth more than that. Yeah. You are worth more than that. And
desperation would also cause you to settle.
Yes.
Take the scraps opposed to
the crumbs, to settle for crumbs. Yeah.
And if there's definitely folks that I've met that grew up that way. We're taught that way, and then can't understand why they continuously to have failed relationships. Disappointment.
Absolutely. So you want to be early in making it clear what you want in a relationship. And don't be afraid of doing that, because I'll tell you what it does is it weeds out the people who are not right for you. Don't be afraid that, oh, well, I've got to, he or she won't like that. I've got to be this. Be your authentic self, because it's the perfect filter to filtering out the people that are not a symbiotic match for you. So be your authentic self and be clear up front, and use your voice early up front of what you are looking for. And this will avoid any confusion. And it will, again, it's going to filter out the individuals who are just playing, who are just breadcrumbing, who aren't serious. Yeah. So don't play the game. Don't get enticed into playing the game with them, because You're too important. You deserve to have the whole loaf. And you want to believe people, how they show up, right?
Sure.
There's a saying,
Sure.
when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
Right? The first time. So how can you detect that? First off, is do their words match their actions? And we talked earlier about that. Oh, we should really get together, yada, yada, yada. We're just making such a great connection, and then nothing. Well, that's a red flag. Their actions are not matching their words, right? So how authentic are they being? And is that what you want?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in closing thoughts, I just want to share with you that you are not here to collect crumbs. And again, as we said, there could be an exception if you want just a digital connection and crumbs are okay. You like that flirtatious connection via just digital, then power to you. But you are here on this planet to build a feast and to have it all with someone who brings the whole table for you. You deserve it. So here's the call to action that I'd like to share. I would like to invite listeners out there to share their breadcrumbing stories or send this episode to a friend who needs it. And remember that dating by divine design means holding out for real love, not almost love. And to further punctuate that, sometimes we've been having a call-in letter and so forth. But today I'd like to share with you a poem that kind of wraps up this episode. In fact, it's going to be found in a booklet, Adjunct to Miracles Online, of poetry. And it's called You Were Never Meant for Crumbs. They left a trail of maybes, of almost and half hearts, just enough to keep you in the dark. But you, radiant soul, were never meant to chase shadows or decipher silence or wonder why you're starving in a space that should feed your spirit. Breadcrumbs are not love. They are echoes of ego. They are served cold by those who fear intimacy but crave control. So when they text, hey, after weeks of absence, don't shrink. Don't answer from the wound. You are not a side note. You are not a backup plan. You are the whole story. The banquet, the candlelight, the prayer come true. Remember this, you are not here to collect crumbs. You're here to build a feast with someone who brings the whole table, actually the whole loaf. Warm, consistent, nourishing, real. So hold the line. Don't bend to almost love when divine design has already prepared a love that sees you, chooses you, and stays.
And with that, we thank you for tuning in, of course, always. Our podcast is trying to make sure that we do our best to make a better world, to help everyone on their relationships, dating, marriage, commitment, topics, issues. Leave us a comment below if you have anything that you liked for us to do a podcast on, as well as if you have a unique story. We'd love to hear from you.
Love to hear.
Absolutely. And don't forget, Miracles Online book is on yayupublishing.com, YAYUpublishing.com. And with that being said, we will see you on the next podcast. And thank you so much. And I love my little bear here.
Bye.
And here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Jeff. And this is?
I'm Kat.
We're here for the Miracles Online Podcast. We're all about relationships, dating, marriage, and commitment. And today, Kat's got something very special for all of us. Why don't you take it over?
Thanks, sweetie. Okay. So welcome back, beautiful souls, to Miracles Online. We're so glad that you are joining us. If this is your first time, hi. And if you're coming back, welcome back. This is where digital love meets divine design. So today's episode, I wanted to talk about, it's anyone who's tired of the chase, whether it's online or not online. Tired of trying too hard, feeling or wondering if you're not enough to attract real love. So what if I told you that manifesting your divine partner isn't about forcing the universe or God, it's about flowing with it? So what if the right person isn't hiding, but simply waiting for you to align with who you already are at your very core of your soul? So this isn't just another dating strategy. This is about stepping into your self-worth, your clarity, and your faith. So before we dive in, let's get grounded in the present moment. Let's soften our nervous system and open our heart space, because it's our heart space that magnetizes synchronicities, serendipities, and magic into our life. Not our thoughts. Our thoughts are the antenna. Our heart is the magnet. So together, I'd like us to breathe. If it's safe for you to close your eyes, and let's practice a calming rhythm that I have loved for decades. It's been called many different things. I call it 4-square breathing. So you're going to breathe in gently for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold at the top. 2, 3, 4. And exhale through the mouth. 2, 3, 4. Hold at the bottom and exhale further. 2, 3, 4. Again, inhale. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. And exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold, trust. 2, 3, 4. Last round. Now inhale. I am loved. 2, 3, 4. Hold. I am safe. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. I release urgency. 2, 3, 4. Hold. I receive divine timing. 2, 3, 4. Let your breath return to natural rhythm. Feel your body soften. You're not behind. You're not doing it wrong. You are becoming the person your divine partner has been praying for. So let's begin. So, Jeff, let's talk about pushing or forcing or chasing attachment, constant searching. And then let's define flow or magnetism, self-trust, divine timing as the opposite. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, let's take the thought of attachments and I think the guidelines and requirements of what you're coming up with within yourself, thinking that that is the definitive, concrete, no flexibility. And by doing that, you start to narrow and compartmentalize it. And what you're doing is you're actually constricting it. And you're not looking at what is the ultimate partner coming in, bringing me something that I never even thought of. So that's important to recognize, that if you're controlling the environment and you're adamant about controlling the environment and you have to have it a certain way, then you're going to restrict what's coming to you. So is that what you want?
I love that description, Jeff, and it parlays perfectly to my next thought. And that is that divine partners are aligned through resonance and vibration, not hustle. And we're going to get deeper into that when we talk about vibrational match further into this episode. I have a metaphor for that I think is great. And that is, you don't yell at a flower to bloom. You nurture the soil, right?
Yes.
A flower just is a flower. And yes, and we nurture it to be a better flower. So what's meant for you won't miss you. I've mentioned before, and I think it's in my book, Love Wants You as Much as You Want Love. But you must be available to receive it. And you need to trust the pace of what I call divine alignment.
Right. Yes.
Okay. So like attracts like, and we're going to get into that. If you, let's just say, if you want a conscious partner, are you living consciously? I think sometimes we miss in that rigidity that you talked about, Jeff, where, well, we must have this and we want this and we want that. We don't really take a self-examination of, are you living those values today? Right? So, you and I talked off camera, what is emotional availability? If you want someone who is emotionally available, are you emotionally available? Because if you're not, again, like attracts like. The universe, God, whatever you call it, doesn't bring you what you want. What you want is coming from lack. It matches vibrations, right? Right.
Because saying similar frequency, similar vibrations will be closer to each other. It's like magnetism in a way that, the attraction of it. But let's just look at it. 1,000 hertz, 100 hertz is this far. Okay. Now 999 hertz, it's right here. See, that's what we're talking about. Aligning your consciousness, your vibration, your attitude, your energy level.
And energy is vibration. And whether you believe it or not, I know you believe there's air. We don't see air, but we believe there's air. We know there's air. Energy, everything is vibrating at a hertz level. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I know most of the time we have in our home 432 hertz.
Sound frequency.
Sound frequency, right? Which is a vibration playing on our big screen. It's the closest to the natural balance of the universe, I believe is how it's described. And that's something that we've done for years. But again, like attracts like. If you want someone who is emotionally available, like we talked about, are you emotionally present with yourself? It starts with being with yourself. And you may be looking for what you lack. That's not going to match up vibrationally. So have you done the inner work? Because if you don't, I've heard it described as inner work is romantic prep. And I love that, because I've never heard it really described like that the inner work that you do to really uncover who you are as a person, vibrationally and every other way, that is what defines you. But I never heard it as a romantic prep work for finding a partner. Would you agree with that, Jeff?
Well, I'm the classic example of it. And I'll share my story on this because I'd studied Wicca in witchcraft spells and so forth in the past. and Scott Cunningham's book about nature and natural ways. And I did align my consciousness, my spirituality, my energy, my so-called everything of the focus of the intent was aligned to finding the perfect mate. And there was a message to me that my life was going to change and it was going to go into a different path when I find my mate that was going to make my life grand, where by myself I was not. And it's not saying that I wasn't having a great life.
You went from great to grand.
I went from having a good life, but always feeling missing, not having the partner, not having the love, not having the yin to the yang, the balance of it. And when I just realized after studying and reading so much books and metaphysicals and whatnot, so that I realized that, okay, I'm going to put my ultimate intention into this. And I went to the beach and I went through a ritualistic performance of giving it to the universe of my ultimate intent. And that universe absorbed it. And that's all. I just let it go then at that point, because I already know that was my energy at the utmost.
And that is key, surrender, whether you're surrendering to the universe, to God, to Jesus, surrender. Our Creator wants us to surrender, and there is power in surrender. It's funny because before you discover that magic, I think our egoic, tiny brains want to think, oh, I need to do it all, and I can do it all, and I have to do it all. Surrendering is weak. It's anything but weak. It's powerful.
Yeah.
It's very powerful. Let's talk about self-love. The frequency of self-love determines the frequency of who you attract. And I know you and I have both gone through our healing from our pasts. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Jeff? Because you were ready also from having healed your inner child. And I really feel that in order to attract and be on the frequency to attract the best partner for us, we need to do that inner work and heal whatever we have from our past, from our childhood, to come to be our most authentic self. And I know as a hypnotherapy practitioner, I deal with this a lot in guiding folks to heal their inner child so that they can live their best lives. So do you want to talk a little bit about that, Jeff?
Yeah. And let me just bring this point up. I'm Chinese descent. So the culture for many, many years, we're talking about thousands of years, that the male species in the Chinese culture has the authority where the females did not. So the females were to be subservient, and the divine feminine was removed from that culture. And that carried on for all the way into the 20th century. I grew up with, even though with the Western teachings, I was very much a misogynistic, machismo man.
Not when I met him.
No, but the way my heart was looking for love versus my brain that was looking for love and versus my woohoo was looking for love is all disconnected because of the way that that culture instilled the cornerstone in the beginning. But as I got older and watching TV and whatnots of the American broadcast and conditioning of, oh, women are sex objects and so forth. And pretty soon what you find is your determination to find the perfect mate is, man, she's hot. And that's really where most of the guys fail, because they're conditioned and programmed to think that way. So for me, I've definitely had many failed relationships, and not due to always my fault. Of course, that's my opinion, right? But ultimately, I know that I didn't have the greatest grand relationship like what I have now. And the reason behind it is I wasn't ready. And how do I get ready? How do I even know I wasn't ready or I need to be ready? And the irony behind this whole thing is you don't know until you make that metaphor change. Once you change and you understand how to be selfless, how to adapt to give and take, how to understand definitive guidelines of commitments, then everything changes into the next step, and then it gets better. And then your attractiveness to the next opportunity is start to formulate, and you see that the reality is not giving you the same anymore. It's not that, oh, well, this reminds me of that relationship. This reminds me of this relationship. You're now going into a new realm. So self-discovery, selflessness is key. And how do you get that? Well, many ways. You can get that by, studying and being in a religion. You can also do self-discovery on self-help. You can do a variety of different things, especially today with artificial intelligence, ChatGPT. You have greatness of intellectual, mechanical component to help you. Ask the question, how can I become selfless? How can I get the best of myself through intentions and acts? Ask that to your artificial intelligence. Let that come back and reflect to you. Because one thing that you have at that chance is you have the greatest knowledge base. Where if we were talking person to person, it's only that person's experience that I'm going to learn off from. So there's a huge difference in that. For me, selflessness came along the way, one step at a time. And then ultimately, what opened and blew the door is going to Making Love Works workshop, Barbara DeAngelis. And what was that about? Making love work.
But the key to that, because we don't have the benefit of telling the entire story, but was healing the inner child. Because whether we realize it or not, almost 90% of our life, of how we are mobilizing ourselves in this human condition, is run by the subconscious. Our subconscious has everything imprinted in it, every word, every sense, every color, every experience. And we are only conscious of a very small portion of that. So when our life isn't going optimally or how we think it should, and there's underlying pain, it's probably coming from subconscious lies, basically, that we told ourselves, probably between the ages of 5 and 15, that were imprinted, whether it was teachers or parents or clergy or bullies or what have you. And you can tell yourself a better lie, as I've been taught, through the subconscious mind. Or, back in the time frame that Jeff did this workshop, it was an intensive multi-day breakthrough that he had to really release that pain and those lies that your subconscious was telling you, that's running in the background like a software program.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I never knew it.
And he never knew it.
Yeah.
And so, that's what we do in hypnosis, is uninstall that negativity and replace it with the truth of who you are.
Can I tell my story about that?
Yes.
First day of the workshop was Friday evening, and second get together group of, our circle of 10 or 12 with assistance. We were kind of, going around in a circle and kind of talking about, what are we afraid of, or, what are things that, that we've held dearly with not letting anybody in. And I'm thinking to myself in this circle, I was like, well, I'm not afraid of much. I'm at that point almost 30, but I was,
because you had all this armor on.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I just didn't understand it.
Sure.
So as we were going around, I hear other people talking about, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that, or this is what, has always held me back. And I just remember by the time it got to me, it's like maybe second time around in the circle, I just somehow started well up and burst out saying, I'm afraid that my grandmother didn't want me either, and I'm just, nobody wants me. nobody loves me and my family. And the reason why that came out is because I moved from Taiwan to America at age 9.5. So I went from my grandmother raising me to my mother raising me. But at first, my mother didn't want me. So that's why my grandmother raised me. And I never knew there was an impact in that. That really just was so surprising.
Sure, because you had the love of your grandmother. You didn't really realize it.
So when this exercise came around, I said, I didn't, I was so scared that grandma didn't want me anymore. And that's when I just broke the dam and start bawling like an infant, like a kid. I just couldn't stop it. I cried at least 5 minutes straight. And it was just unbelievable, that breakthrough that I had on that. And to this day, I can still remember the clarity that came right after it, because of that wall broke.
Yep,
and it finally let that little kid that was hiding and wanting to be protected and be secure
and safe,
finally see, there's a world out there. Yeah. And that was only the first day. So you can imagine by Sunday, we were like, okay.
But that was definitely how much time, Jeff, from that Making Love Works breakthrough did we, and then there was at the beach that you went to the beach and released to the universe, to God. And it was only maybe a year later that we met. Not
5
even
years.
It was 5 years.
5 years.
Well, God has his own timing,
right?
Divine timing. Right. And that just parlays really into, patience is not punishment. If it's taking 5 years, 5 months, 5 decades. I was a single parent for over 12 years, I believe it was, before I met my true love. Yeah. And, it was divine timing. It was preparation. It's not punishment. It's preparation. And you have to believe that. You just have to believe that, because love finds you when you're ready. Love finds you when you're busy being your most aligned version of yourself. And in Jeff's case, in my case, we were both on our trajectory to healing our inner childs and having breakthroughs and becoming and releasing and remembering who we really were, because we were all born enough. We were all born safe and loved and perfect. It's the world that put on other things to say, no, you're this, you're that, etc., that our subconscious believed. So absolutely. I encourage you, as tempting it is to just hop online and put photos out there and put some kind of a generic profile. Do your inner work. We've talked about it and had episode before, but create a profile that's inclusive of who you really are, your negotiables and non-negotiables. We will talk about those always, because they are so defining, and will align you and attract to someone else, someone who's on your same energetic vibrational level. It just will make a world of difference. It absolutely will.
Yeah. In one of the non-negotiables and negotiables, well, I think for Kat was that she was not wanting to have any more kids.
Right? Well, it wasn't non-negotiable because I'd had a hysterectomy.
Right. So for me, in my mid-30s, getting ready to be around 35 at that time, I didn't have, the absolute have to have a child mentality,
which blew me away. I was actually, we were quite connected. I don't think we had met in person yet, but we spent hours and hours and hours on the phone for days. I was going to massage school at the time, come home at 10 o'clock at night and talk till 4 o'clock in the morning. It was crazy. But I really thought that when that topic came about, that, okay, this will probably be a deal breaker, because he's quite a bit younger than I am and has no children and probably wants children. And I had 3 children and wasn't having any more children. But much to my surprise, it was a non-issue.
No, it wasn't an issue at all, because again, I'm not getting married to have children. That it wasn't.
But you have to admit that's not that it could have gone differently.
It could have gone differently because if I would have found somebody else that I felt, it was compatible and that was wanting children, I didn't rule that out.
You didn't rule that out. Yeah.
Right. But it wasn't going into it that is my have to haves.
Yeah. So he knew again, and that could have been a very big, negotiable or non-negotiable. For someone else it might have been. Yeah. And that's where it comes back to what you said in the beginning of this episode, Jeff, is that if you come in with, okay, this is concrete how it has to be, I'm a firm believer that imagine what you want, see it, feel it, taste it, believe it, raise your vibrational level to be a match for it, but let the details up to God. Let the details up to God. This is what I want. This is what I see myself. Do your due diligence with your negotiables and your non-negotiables, but leave the hows, the whys, and the wheres and the whens up to source, because they may have something even beyond and bigger and grander than you could have ever imagined.
No question about it. That's why I've always said, if you go in with attachment of rigidness, you will only have the kind of outcome that creates from those boundaries,
which are limited. Those are limiting beliefs. There is so much more that we don't even realize, that we couldn't even imagine. Right. And I have to say that for me too. I wasn't looking for a Chinese man over 10 years younger than me, who lived an hour away, who had long hair down to here. I wasn't looking for that.
No.
But I had an open mind, and I let divine lead me. And the more I was led and the more I saw, the more I fell in love. And those preconceived notions were they were minimalized. They weren't important.
Right. Because preconceived is within our own thoughts, our own imaginations of, oh, I would like to have this, that, it's no.
And those are limiting beliefs, right?
Well, they're beliefs that you're comfortable in. Like, these are your comfort your zone. Favorites. Mm-hmm. If the attraction comes from those things, but it's like no different than, let's say, a child who's never had great cuisine, whether it be Chinese, Indian, or whatever it may be. And all of a sudden they get to taste this so foreign to them, they could be like, oh no. But if they lose their paradigm in regards to, I'm not trying anything new and anything new is not going to be good, and they have an open mind, then you'll be surprised on how many kids will sit there and go, ooh, Indian food, ooh, Chinese food, and things like that. And we've seen that in our family, because we don't put governors and boundaries up for these kids on certain things. Sure, you don't go surfing on the internet by yourself and not be protected. We don't let kids do that. But at the same time, we're never going to go, oh, what do you want to eat? Hamburger. We're in a Chinese restaurant. Hamburger. No. We're not having that. But I'll tell you what would be good. You like creamy, saucy stuff, so let's try this. You like, we look for alternatives. And that's the key. I think it's always to be willing to accept. To be willing
open.
To accept.
Yeah, keep your mind open. We used to have a saying in sales, the mind is like an umbrella. It only works when it's open. Keep your mind open, because there's so much more that God, the divine, may have in mind for you by you keeping an open mind. Yes. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't picture and manifest, do your inner child work, etc. In fact, we're going to close in I would like to, again, if it's safe for you, we're going to do a closing visualization. Before we do this, Jeff, is there any closing statements that you wanted to make?
Well, I just wanted to tell everybody that we want to thank you for being part of our Miracles Online family. Don't forget, the books is over at yayupublishing.com. Also, we got Substack coming out. We are going to do the yin and the yang. His and hers point of view on topics. So when you come to our Substack and see our posts and our articles, you'll see Kat's point of view, and then you will see my point of view.
And not to divide them, you will notice on, at least on the ones I'm going to contribute, that they could fall into the male or the female in terms of, advice or insights, etc. But they'll just be coming from, am I the yin or the yang?
You're the yin.
I'm the yang.
Yeah.
I'm the yang. So there you have that. And you can find the book Miracles Online at yayu.com or Yayu Publishing. Yayu publishing.com.
Yeah, links are below.
And when you buy the book, I'd love to hear from you. Write a letter, write a review, whatever you're comfortable with. It's a quick read, less than, I think, 90 pages. And share it with a friend if you're not single and you have a single friend who might enjoy it. So let's take a deep breath. And if it's safe, close your eyes. And we're just going to do a real quick visualization. So I want you to close your eyes and picture your future partner walking towards you. Whether it's on a street, on a beach, at a park. They're not rushing, but recognizing you. Feel the sensation of them seeing you, that you're known, that you're chosen. As you take a breath in, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4. What does the partner version of me believe about love? Think about that as you inhale and hold, 2, 3, 4, and see the partner as you exhale. And 2, 3, 4. Last time, inhale and hold, 2, 3, 4, and exhale. And just calmly breathe. Keep your eyes closed as you continue to see your partner walking towards you, seeing you, knowing you, choosing you as you choose them, your divine partner. And so it is. That concludes our episode for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Don't forget, leave us a comment, like, and subscribe. And with all that, I thank my little bear over here.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see, welcome to Miracles Online. We start off with...
I create custom biophilic wall art and also table art with preserved mosses. The beauty is you don't have to have a green thumb, and the studies show, interestingly enough, that you get that same lowered heart rate, calming feeling from preserved arts, which we have over there, but you can't.
But also we'll talk about the frequency infusion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everything is done while infusing a 432 hertz frequency. which 432 is the vibrational frequency of the balance of the earth, I believe is how it's described. Is that correct, Jeff? Yeah. So we choose to do the 432. If you study frequency, you can do healing and all kinds of things with various frequencies, but 432 is the most balanced. So we do that. And so living by design, not by default, has actually now segued into not only When the Mind Changes Its Mind, my second solo book. I was a contributing author for Staging the World by Barb Schwartz, the creator of home staging. And I was very blessed to be able to contribute my story back then, dark hair back then, right? And the book is about that thick.
Yeah. See, everybody, see how diversified Kat really is. And this is how the profile actually came across, of having so richness of this. And I just was like, wow, it was so overwhelming.
It's overwhelming to me sometimes. It's like, stop already. But it just segues, I'm in a place in my life where both Jeff and I, we have lived such a rich life and a rich marriage that we want to give back. That's what Miracles Online is all about. That's what 365 method is all about. And the final piece, I won't say final because it ain't over till it's over. And that is heart space hypnosis. I'm now a master hypnotist practitioner, along with an NLP, neuro-linguistics practitioner. And we are coupling that with living by design mindset coaching. For folks, some of my clients, they want the hypnosis for a specific thing, and we'll reinforce it with the living by design mindset coaching. So that's
how can you help me with my mindset to find my true love?
Ooh.
Huh?
Ooh.
So, and help me, Kat.
Yes. And that's a very good one, Jeff. Absolutely. Because typically what I have found in my experience is that there is often something in the subconscious, because folks don't realize that 95% of really what we do, act, think, say is coming, it's on autopilot from the subconscious. So there's usually something there that we can eradicate and reprogram. And as Marissa Peer says, because I was trained through her as well, through rapid transformational therapy, tell yourself a better lie. We have over 65,000 thoughts, some of us more, a day. And what I will say, what I said to my assistant today is, do not believe all of your thoughts. Do not believe your thoughts.
And why is that?
Because many of them are coming from bad programming, conditioning way back when people didn't, it was input and we were receptive, but it was a lie.
Yeah.
And so subconsciously we're hearing, I'm not good enough. I can't, I won't, I'm not this, I'm not that.
Right.
A lot of negative things. It comes back to many people feel they're not good enough and don't deserve. They don't deserve wealth. They don't deserve love. They don't deserve recognition. They don't deserve all these things. And that's on a subconscious level.
All those things really could contribute greatly on my online dating profile, wouldn't it? Because seriously, folks, if you're not really confident about what you're bringing to the table, that's the first thing you need to question. The intention of wanting love and wanting true love is noble. We all want that.
But you have to know that you deserve it. And, I've said this before. I believe this is in my book. God wants you to have love as much as you want to be loved. You have to feel love. You have to feel lovable. And you ask, why, in that kind of hypothetical question, well, how come I'm not getting love? How come love seems to be repelling away from me? Well, there could be some subconscious neuroplasticity, some reprogramming that needs to happen to clear out that muck those messages back, who knows how far back, when society, when, kids, when teachers, when unknowing parents, when, whatever told you you weren't good enough, you weren't lovable, showed you weren't lovable, and you internalized that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm not a good match if I'm an alcoholic, right?
Well, that would be a good beginning, Jeff. Yeah, and because it's difficult to work, my work with, if you're an alcoholic, a severe alcoholic.
Yeah.
AA is good for that, to get off the alcohol.
Well, I'll bring that up. The key point is because, we really do take lighthearted in regards to how alcohol is influencing our society and how much of it we consume.
Because it's all about the money.
Yeah. But let's be realistic here. To find true love, to work with someone in a relationship, that takes patience, it takes skills, it takes tools, techniques, your intentions, your deep within inner self to your outer self. All these things matter in a great relationship. It's hard to do that. I know if you're punching a clock and you're coming home and you get your stovetop stuffers, whatever you get, right? And then you get your beers and drinks, wine, Cabernet, however you do it. And that becomes the cycle. And that is such of disservice to you.
And we all have, to varying degrees, and things that there's an old saying, what we don't deal with deals with us. And if you're drinking, eating, taking any kind of drugs, doing anything else, to shopping excessively, those are things that only are you doing them to the extent to numb yourself, to fill a hole that you haven't really addressed? Only you know that. Only you know that.
That's right.
But there's hope and there's help. It comes first with what I call, taking the sheet off and being brave enough to go, let me look at myself. I think it was Socrates that said, the life unexamined is a life not worth living. We really need to examine our lives, don't we? I mean, that takes courage to do that. But wow, when you do that and you peel away the pain, peel away the bad habits that are making you dull your best life that you could be living, it's amazing. It's just amazing.
Absolutely is.
And Jeff and I know that we've gone through it. We've gone through a lot. Yeah.
Well, it's especially, let's say, coming into a time of life where you feel, okay, I'm at a point in a place at this age I should be married. And that is a structure that is actually defeating the purpose of a great relationship, because you're going into it with entirely a wrong reason. So you have to really look at, okay, well, what am I missing for self? Of course, I'll give you the biggest example is that prior to me having a rebirth at age 29, and I've done that story, and I'll probably put it on Substack and you can read it there, but it was on Josh Reed's Conversations on a Fringe. I had a rebirth that basically structurally changed my inner self and spiritually aligned myself and let go of all the fear and the guilt that I had up to that age. And until I was able to recognize that I had that within me, there was no way I would have found the true love. The love that we're finding was exactly what I was limited to receive it. Mm-hmm. I was getting dates. I was unsatisfying. There was really no intimacy with anybody because it was just so surfacey. And I knew that I wasn't just trying to get booty calls, because that was not searching for the loved one, right? Thinking that in my head, that was propelling the drive of how do I be successful using online medium? Because you have to recognize this medium is huge. Out of maybe 20 ads that was coming on a newspaper or any kind of personal ad services, now you have thousands. And I can only imagine if you got a huge network that is, let's say, religious based, or, certain interest group based that's for dating use. Then you're dealing with more hundreds of thousands, maybe even million memberships. Now, how are you going to fish through all that and to find the one that you know that you're not going to be wasting time with?
By building the best profile.
That's right. That's right. So getting to know yourself and giving yourself is the biggest part. And we can't stress enough in regards to the honesty, the authenticity of you understanding yourself, you recognizing yourself. This is one of the key factors that I think really synergistically also brought Kat into my life, because I did a rebirth, and the person in the program that was responsible for came from Barbara DeAngelis. Barbara DeAngelis is an award-winning author and radio personality, but she was first and foremost a personal workshop president, guru, however you want to put it. She created an environment to help people get out of their shackles and their compartments, right?
And we actually both had, in our hours and hours of phone conversations, which we were about an hour distance from each other, so we couldn't actually meet.
But you also went to a bar.
I went to a bar lecture. I had gone to a lecture, and I also listened to her talk radio. So we had a lot in common. Obviously, we had meshed in that vibrational space and time, space, and energy, because we had read the same books, we had listened to the same, not then podcasts, but radio hosts, etc. So I knew, and I think he knew, this is a vibrational match. This is a person who is seeking to improve themselves in many different ways, emotional, spiritual, physical, etc.
Yeah, I think there was definitely a comfort zone from your end when you found out that I had come from the Barbara DeAngelis program. I think there was a part of you that was validated in the sense, okay, this guy's different than everybody else.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I knew I was different. This is why I did all the things that I did to find the love of my life, the ultimate relationship, because it was very clear to me that I wasn't going to be the best that I can be without having this type of dynamic in my life. And I can't describe it in sense of, well, how did I arrive to that point? I think when you start to do work on yourself, especially if you have a crucial moment that changes you so dramatically that you become spiritually aligned and cleansed, and now all of a sudden you're almost like a newborn baby to accept love in a total different open way than the way previous. These things are refinement of self. So I don't think without that the universe, God, whoever the powers may be, would have granted this relationship.
Yeah, you would have been the next coffee date.
Well, not only that, I just don't think that would have been put together, because the thing is, she doesn't put this energy out just so she would have a failure in this relationship. And I would have been the failure because I would not have been prepared. So I would have failed the situation, and that's very easier said than done. But being in a relationship, and I know first 2 years was extremely hard for me, just due to the fact that because I was from such of a long period of time of controlling self. And that means self-sufficient, self-functioning,
and a only child, et cetera, and so forth. And we can talk about that on another episode because we're kind of running out of time here.
No, we're just going to keep running.
Okay. Because now I forgot you can
That's all right.
Cut this part out. What were you saying right before that?
Well, I was saying in regards to just the refinement of myself to prepare myself for this type of relationship. I was dating, and let's say if I was introduced to personal app dating and so forth, which I did do that even prior to the rebirthing of self. And the kind of dates I had was, with good-looking people that was too busy to go out and meet. Meaning that they didn't want to date anybody within their social circle or their work circle or their, religious
people. That's where I was at. Who has time?
Right. So personal ads, I think there was many dating services. I forgot what the one very popular one, but I remember contacting them. They came back with like $1,500, right, to join this thing. And I thought to myself, you got to be kidding me. I'm a schmo that's working in a union job, busting my hump to make a living, and to find true love, I got to pony up $1,500. That immediately made me go, well, she better be worth it then if I do that. That's my first thought.
But you were talking before about the transformation from Barbara DeAngelis and how you wouldn't have been, probably ready and met me had you not gone through that. I don't know how you digress back to.
Well, I was just talking about the process of, it's absolutely true, because without that spiritual alignment, and I'm going to get a little esoteric here to recognize that the magnetism, the energy level, the vibration. For those of you who's just thinking, oh, what, this is just woo-woo and sounding like, it's not.
It's not woo-woo anymore, guys.
Yeah, go look up Dr. Emoto's work from even 25 years ago, at least.
Yeah, Emoto.
I mean, it's documented that frequency of our emotions, especially words.
Our thoughts.
Yeah, if I say something very abrasive, you can actually see the energy and the water crystals that he has documented.
These are thoughts. In fact, this needs to be integrated into thought. When the mind changes its mind.
Sure.
Because he did very simple tests, glass of water, where it was thoughts were infused to the water. I love you, sending love, loving thoughts. And when they had these high-powered microscopes, it formed beautiful crystals, beautiful water crystals.
Yeah.
Same, another glass of water, they put negative thoughts, negative energy, I hate you, really bad negative thoughts to this water. And underneath the microscope, all nothing pretty, nothing symmetrical.
Disjointed.
And that's just from thoughts.
Yeah.
That's just from
intentions.
Thoughts are energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bless the water that we drink every day when I put it into, from distiller to the reservoir and everything, because I saw that this is so important. We're so much water and liquid.
75, 80%?
Oh, at least
water.
90, isn't it? Anyway, the whole point is just a whole lot. If not, I'll just be like beef jerky. We don't want to do that, right? So the key thing is that we have to be attentive. And that's something that I think with Barbara DeAngelis rebirthing really woke that up. The key factor of, what am I paying attention to? What are things that I need to work on myself? And those are things that, I talked about in the other podcast with Josh, that about the refinement of, going to bookstores and reading and learning new things and so forth. That's why I think by the time that when Kat and I met, it was ready for us to then take it to a level of building. Like I said, it wasn't easy. The first year and 2 years of the relationship was still crawling and fighting, trying not to go back to old ways.
So that's what I wanted to interject on the first in any really relationship. I call it the getting to know you period. And that's really what I would say the first year for me was the most pronounced, because that's where you're testing the boundaries. Oh, you're pushing a little here, you're pushing a little there. And I think each one of you is testing to see, are you here for the long haul? I know we had a couple situations that, I'm here for the long haul. Don't you remember?
Yeah,
there's no quits here.
That's right. That's the definitive really key is that if you're ready for a relationship that's going to be really thriving to the greatest of the great love of our lives, it has to be that commitment, to depth.
It's a decision.
Part, and we're doing part.
I think it's, it's romantic to think, oh, I fell in love. People say, oh, I fell in love. And really, I think what's more accurate is you decide to fall in love, or you decide to be in love, or you decide to love someone.
To feed it.
It's a decision.
Yeah. What we recognize is we had enough love now for ourselves. So recognize that first.
Absolutely. And that's key that you mentioned that. Yeah. That's key, because I can remember on some of the coffee dates thinking, I think there's too much of a gap, there's too much of a hole in the other person. And I was not in a place, chronologically age, let alone spiritually, mentally, etc., to want to fix someone. I was ready, and I put it out into the universe. I'm ready for someone in wholeness to come to me in wholeness, and together we will be more than whole.
Yes.
Not complete me. That's like,
it's not about complete.
Yeah, I'm not looking for someone to complete me, and I hope you're not looking. If you are looking for someone to complete you, then we're not a good fit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really within inside me, that's exactly what I thought it was.
Yeah.
It's not about completion of me. It's about me going to a new level.
Mm-hmm. Making each other better.
Yeah. That was definitely the greatness of this relationship, and the greatness of the relationship that we thought about. When we're doing right here, right now, together, is something that we actually discussed, not in the sense of, we're going to be behind microphones and we're going to do this and we're going to talk to you. Yeah, it wasn't that at all. It was let's build a life together where we can be together, live and enjoy each other, and get the best part of each other. And by doing that, how can we craft a life this way? And that was hard. That wasn't like easy, because I had long hair, but I wanted
to. You had long hair. What's that got to do?
Because I had to figure a strategy out for me in a great relationship. I knew that if I work in warehousing and building guitars like I was doing and things like that, my hair length didn't matter. But if I really wanted to kick it to next level, I needed to become a professional in some degree to be able to bring a quality of a lifestyle. What was that quality of lifestyle we talked about? Well, we wanted to have opportunity to go see things and go to different countries and travel and so forth. Well, that requires money, doesn't it? It wasn't like I can sit around building guitars for another company that I'm going to come home and go, oh, our nest egg is fantastic. It wasn't. Manufacturing jobs in America really is just not respected on the level that you can actually have opportunities to, let's say, I want to go to Barbados. Let me take off 3 weeks. Ask any blue collar guy, how many times can you pull that off? Very little. My dad, same guy, blue collar. And I learned from watching this. So for us to have this commitment to say, okay, we want a great lifestyle together. We want to travel. We want to see things. We want to do things together. And that was a commitment. So my aspect of it is that how I did it is I created a strategy to mirror what she was great at and see if I can feed off it, because I want to be around her. 2 is I want to understand her better and not make me better. And then when she make me better is I take the best of things that I see from her. Like, for instance, top salesperson at every company she's ever been with is mind-blowing. Just how well she can communicate with other people. And her communicating skills, her likabilities and those type of things that I was probably not even close in the ballpark. It's not saying that, now I'm just as likable as her. No, but I have a level of confidence that I've done enough road work that I know I'm in the fight somehow. And that's the key thing. I did my hair, followed her into the real estate business, into the sales professional realms, and did all kind of things. And ultimately, they created this. Yeah. They created back to the circle of exactly what we're talking about. We've done all those hard work. We value each other in the time we have together. And this is why we don't work for someone else anymore, because we've done so much of that. We've accumulated so much experience, so much knowledge, and good wealth. I'm not going to complain, but at the same time, we weren't in control of our own destiny. And that's another key about finding the relationship, finding the person that matches you. Is their goal the same as you? But one of the things that I'll tell you that always blows me away on profiles is that I'm looking for a God-fearing man or God-fearing women. I see it more about men though. And that just kind of blows away that wow, you have to be fearing somebody for you to love me. That logistically didn't even resonate.
That's yeah, I've had conversations with my son about that, because it's, as Adam describes it, it's not, God wants you to fear him. It's no different than well, do your children fear you to do what's right, to discipline them? So I think that's been taken out of context, and even for myself, that's just an odd way. To me, it would be more, a God loving, not God fearing. But that is in the Bible quite a bit, God fearing, and Adam described it to me that made sense. He said, think about discipline. When I discipline the kids, well, they need to fear me a little bit, fear me in a respectful way.
Okay.
Right. That you have. Okay, we're getting fuzzy.
That's all right.
I don't know what you did.
Did it come back? See. All to it.
Now I lost my train of thought. Okay.
God fearing is where we were at.
That you respect, that you respect the omniscience and omnipotent of God. It's not the literal fear. Oh, the fear. That's why I'm going to do the right thing. You respect and honor the omniscience and omnipotence of the all-powerful, almighty God.
Right. But you got to remember, I was ignorant of that.
I asked Adam, in my recent resurgence, of following Christ and being a Christian, was what I just can't relate to the fear. What's, and part of that's an ego thing. But the other part is that's not, fear is, false expectations about reality. That's what I've been taught, FEAR. And Adam explained it to me that way in terms of, using the metaphor of the kids. You want your children,
right?
They have to have somewhat of fear for you, that you are guiding them, and that you are, powerfully guiding them and leading them in their life. And that totally makes sense. Yeah, totally makes sense.
Well, that's a heck of a start for all of us, talking about building the profile. We deep dive into many different strategies and ideas, and I would like for Kat to end this with the butterfly effect.
So this came about in a resurgence on the meaning of the butterfly effect, and I want to share with you kind of a metaphor and a divine perspective of the butterfly effect. So they say a butterfly flapping its wings can shift the weather from across the world. But what if that flutter is divine design? In the realm of love and miracles, a quiet decision, a yes to your own worth, a moment of vulnerability, or a single swipe filled with what? Intention, can send ripples through time and space. You may not see the storm it prevents. You might not see the heart that it awakens, or the healing that it initiates. But trust this: the universe takes notice of small, sacred movements. Love's not random. It's orchestrated by threads that we can't always see. So the next time your heart nudges you forward, remember, what feels small may just be the beginning of something miraculous, or it may just be your miracle online. You never know.
That's right. So I'll see you next time with Jeff and
Kat.
But of course, this is my miracles online. I thank God every day, every moment for her.